Do you know what that phone is telling me to do? Get more for myself. Keep more for myself. It's telling us to hoard more for ourselves. It's telling us that the way to success and happiness is by serving ourselves. Everett, it's the world's greatest lie. You'll never make a change until you get mad enough.
Hi, this is Everett Crockett. Welcome to TRS, Your Retirement in Focus. Members and friends, today we have with us one of our most popular guests and one of my personal favorites, Mr. Dale Alexander. Dale is a very lucky man, having married way out of his league and being a father of 3. Raised in South Georgia, he's also the son of dedicated educators. His father served as a superintendent for 22 years, and his mother was a teacher for 26 years. Beyond his roots, Dale is the founder of Hub International's Alexander & Company, a brokerage firm specializing in school employee benefits. He holds several other companies and is a certified financial planner, chartered life underwriter, and chartered financial consultant. He is the author of The Talk About Money, a young adult's guide to the one decision that changes everything. His book has been nationally recognized, featured across major media outlets, and was gifted to 120,000 Georgia high school seniors by the State Board of Education. Dale is high energy, passionate, and deeply committed to financial literacy. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. So buckle up. This is a conversation you won't forget with my friend and our guest, Mr. Dale Alexander. Dale, how are you today, sir?
Hey, Everett. First of all, thank you all for having me back. I love this place.
Yes, sir.
We're all good. We're great. Family's good. The kids, it's hard to believe how much they're growing. Their 27-year-old daughter, 25-year-old son, 23-year-old son. So all out of college. So we got raises after that, right? So everybody's off the payroll. Thank you, Lord. We're doing great. Thank you all for having me back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great to have. And I'll tell you what, also, Dale, quite often, I take a listen to some of the gems of information that you share on LinkedIn and other platforms, and I want you to know that I truly consider it a high honor to be able to sit and sponge knowledge from you. And hats off for the outstanding work that you've done and continue to do, even today, especially as it relates to Georgia's educators and their financial literacy.
Thank you, Everett. It's an honor. I get to do it.
All right, let's jump right in.
Let's
Dale,
go.
we love what you're doing across the nation, teaching the masses and especially our youth about finances. Can you share for those that may be unaware about what The Talk About Money is? But before doing that, why did you write your book?
Thank you very much. Great question, by the way. Thought a lot about this. I'd say 2 words, mulligans and hope. If you play golf, you know what a mulligan is.
Yes,
It's a redo.
I do.
It's a do-over. So almost every adult, when they hear me speak to young adults about money and what the book is about, almost every one of them say a couple of things. Where was this when I was 18? And our parents never talked to us about money. There's a reason that they didn't, by the way. Hopefully we can cover that. But when I ask adults, knowing what you know now, how fast time flies, that the more important things are independence, not keeping up with the Joneses, right? Contentment. If you could go back in your life now and take a mulligan, a redo on your finances from the first paycheck you ever got as an adult, would you do it? Would you want to do it? I've never had an adult say they wouldn't want to go back in time and have a do-over,
Certainly.
a mulligan. So that's the first reason. But by the way, if we know that, let's give every young adult the chance to never have that regret. If we know that, most people would like to. Let's give every young adult that hears this story we're going to talk about today the chance to never have to say they'd want to go back and redo it. Let's have them start off from the beginning. The second thing is hope. I grew up in rural South Georgia, small town South Georgia, and very, very, very farming oriented. Not a lot of money where I grew up. I read, by the way, the other day that 80% of all lottery tickets are purchased by the bottom 10% of income earners. And I don't know if that's true, but it's probably pretty close.
Wow.
But why would that be? Hope. And so I started thinking about that. And I would rather give people real hope in their finances, that in a future that's lifting not only themselves, but people that come behind them, that from the first paycheck you ever get, you're living inside financial margin. You've got savings going, you've got giving going,
Yes.
you're lifting those, you're blessing those coming behind you. You're dropping grace bombs on everybody that comes
Yes,
behind you,
yes.
and you're lifting them up. From the first paycheck, you've got savings in the bank, you've got investments going. I would rather them have hope in that than not in some lottery ticket, statistically, that's never going to hit anyways.
Wow, very true.
So I'm always talking to my kids about money. And a few years ago, my middle son said, Dad, you need to tell all of our friends this story, this principle, and being a certified financial planner. I'm always talking to them about that. And I said, get all your friends together. So I locally kind of told that story, and it locally kind of went viral, whatever,
Wow.
Facebook Live. And
Okay.
so then I came out with a lesson, started going to schools, and it really took off, came out with the book, and then nationally, news and TV, and it took off. And so now I go all over the country and speak all over the world. Uganda, Kenya, speak all over the world to young adults about money.
Wow, very impressive.
Thank you.
And I
By the
wanna-
way, let me say, I'm not a practicing certified financial planner, so I will say this is not my business. So I'll say today, I'm giving wisdom, not advice. So-
Understood. And if you recall, I know we talked about this once before. When you first mentioned the book to me, you even blessed me with a copy of it, which I shared with my youngest son.
Awesome.
And I want to thank you, Dale, because my son and I had some very meaningful conversations, some conversations we had never had before, and both of us came away more savvy as a result of reading your book. So thank you so much for that.
I love it. It's funny. I'll have parents come up to me and say, my son walked up to me the other day and he said, Dad, look at what this guy said about money. And they'll tell me, I've been telling that guy I've been telling him 5 years this stuff.
Yes.
Maybe things are better received from somebody outside of.
I can attest to
our own
that. It's
parents.
very true. Very true. All right. So, Dale, you mentioned this, but why do most parents not usually talk to their kids about money?
So think about this. It's actually called the Titanic effect. The worse an issue looks, the less we want to deal with it, right? And so parents, as parents, will talk to our kids about many things, sex and morals and
Yes.
ethics and careers and things like that. But when it comes to money, if you got it wrong, as many of us did early on, why are you going to bring up something that's a wound in your life?
Yeah.
Why are you going to, you need to do money right. Well, how did you do it? Did you do it right, Dad? No, I didn't. Or you need to have money in stocks of great companies of the world. Where's yours? Well, it's in the bank. If you're not doing it as great as you could be, what are you going to say to your kids? So a lot of times we just leave it alone. And
Yes.
it wasn't their fault. They don't know many parents don't know what to tell their kids about money. That's why I called it the talk, in quotes, the talk about money. I got the talk
see.
about money now. I got your talk. You go talk to them about other things. I got the one about money.
Understood. Well said. Very well said. Now, also, you very often say, make 70% your 100%. What exactly does that mean?
All right, so let's get into what the talk about money is all about.
Okay.
If you think back to your first real job, when you started getting a real pay, you had to fill out paperwork from a lady in HR named Dottie, right? I mean, you remember your first
I do.
real paycheck.
Yes.
And our young adults, our kids are going to go from making basically nothing to the most money they've ever seen in their life on a regular basis. If you've got kids listening to this, grandkids, or you just think back to when you got your first real job, you went from nothing
Yes.
to the most money you'd ever seen in your life. When you get your first real job paycheck, instead of taking and spending all 100% of that paycheck, stop and only spend 70% of it.
Okay.
Make 70% your 100%. 70% of that first job paycheck is still going to be the most money you've ever seen
Very
in your
true.
life. You're at zero.
Yes. Yes.
Make 70 your 100. And here's why they can do that. You don't have a standard of living established yet. And whatever number they accept as their standard of living, 70%, that becomes their reality. It'll sting for a couple of months.
Sure.
But watch this. In a couple of months, you'll never know that 70% is not 100. It's just your 100.
Yes.
It's all you've ever known as your 100%. By the way, the other 30%, take 20% and invest it. I'll teach you how to do that.
Okay.
And take the last 10% and give it away. I don't care who you give it away to. Give it away to the world. We'll come back to that point. Give it away.
All right.
Make 70 your 100. And the most important thing that I'll tell them, this is why people fly me all over the country, the next thing I'm going to say, they have one shot to make this happen. Because if you start taking 3 of those paychecks, spending all 100% of it, you will never back down to 70. It's over. You'll say you will. You will never back down to 70%. It's over. And you will live life like most of America, which is broke, stressed, angry, and anxious because of the weight of money. And so that's what this Make 70 Your 100 is all about.
I'm going to say it like you said earlier. I wish I had known all of this early. I wish I had it right off the jump. That is excellent advice and well said. Thank you so much for that. Now, Dale, you are also known for saying getting money right is not hard. There's just a lot of stuff trying to make it impossible. Why do you say that?
I want you to, this is fascinating. It's really not hard. Here's all the financial wisdom we need to know. Ready?
Yeah.
I'm about to lay it on you. Spend less than you make for a long time.
Bingo.
Thank you all for having me here. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me here. Spend less than you make for a long time.
Yeah.
Easy to understand. It's hard to do.
Sure.
Easy to understand, hard to do. One of my friends is one of the great financial planners in the world, Russ Crossan. We were having breakfast one day, and he said something that floored me. He said, Dale, investments don't make people wealthy. Living on less than you make makes you wealthy. That's such a great statement. Living on less than you make makes you wealthy.
Yeah.
And back to your question is getting money right's not hard. There's a lot trying to make it impossible. Think about the things coming at our youth today. They have so much coming at them today. Just think of, for example, think about social media. Have you ever noticed if you and I start talking about lawnmowers, we're going to have John Deere or Bad Boy mowers. We're going to have John Deere ads popping up on your phone?
Absolutely.
You know that's not coincidental,
no,
right?
No, not at all.
And they're very effective, right? And they'll start popping up within an hour. And they're extremely effective in that you've got one button, shop now, buy here.
Yes.
And they're very effective. If we're conversing about them, that thing starts popping up.
Yes, it does.
And it's almost impossible at one point not to hit that shop now. Now, think about over a lifetime. If you compound that out to hundreds of thousands of those advertisements daily popping up in front of us that just say, buy now, it's almost impossible to get money right with that coming at us.
Wow.
And we've all heard of the stories of grandma and grandpa, this elderly couple that never made more than $12,000 in their lives and owned a 500-acre farm, and when they died, had a $500,000. We've all heard those stories.
Yes.
It doesn't take a lot it just takes spending less than you make for a long time. These buy now, pay later plans that are popping up at kids can now go to the trend is going to concerts and doing payment plans for concert tickets.
Wow.
It's here's the rule on this. John Maxwell, the great leadership speaker, here's the rule on this. You can pay now and play later, or you can play now and pay later. And when you pay later, the price is always greater.
Oh, no doubt.
So you can have some discipline in your life now and have opportunities in the future, or you can do all the, live it up now and pay that price in the future. And when you pay later, the price is greater. And this doesn't just affect our finances. This affects our health.
Sure.
You can pay now and play later, or you can play now and pay later. It affects our relationship, our marriages, our parental relationships, certainly our finances. This affects all areas of our lives.
Wow.
Pay now, play later, play now, pay later. And when you pay later, the price is always greater. So here's how to combat that. People also ask me, how do you break through that, Dale? How do you break through that? I call it the drift. And I've studied this stuff for 38 years.
Okay.
I call it the drift. And we drift in many areas of our lives, but let's say financially, we drift financially. How do you drift? Imagine you're in the ocean playing everybody loves to go in the ocean and play. Isn't it fun to go play in the ocean? Isn't it fun? Everybody's out there having a great time. Have you ever noticed when you're playing in the ocean and in 45 minutes when you're ready to go back in, you're 300 yards down the beach?
Yes.
Have you ever noticed?
Yes.
You never realized when you were drifting, but ultimately you realized you had drifted. Okay. My pastor said one time, Andy Stanley, he said, no one realizes when they're getting lost. Everybody realizes when they ultimately are lost.
Absolutely true.
And so if you think about from our financial perspective, Dale, how do we break through the drift? And we drift in life. We're unaware. Advertising, just busyness. We drift in our life financially. We drift relationally. We drift parentally. We drift in many ways. So how do you break through that drift, certainly financially? And I tell people this. I love surfing, and we're in Jacksonville Beach. I love surfing. And the way to break through that, usually if I'm surfing, my wife is on the beach. And let's call that my dream, my true north. That's where I want to end up. If she's sitting on the beach, that's home.
Okay.
I know what my dream is. And so what you have to do, if you think about it, you have to paddle back through the drift. I have to know, first of all, Everett, what my dream is. Where do I want to end up?
Okay.
Financially, relationally, I mean, in many areas of our lives, in our health, where do you want to end up? And here's the rule. Your dream has to be stronger than your drift.
Wow. What a statement.
You've got to know where you want to end up so that when you get ready to go home, you're where you want to be and you're not, quote, down the beach.
That's good. That's real good right there, sir.
Thank you.
I can picture that, actually.
Your dream has to be stronger than your drift.
Awesome statement. Well, getting back to the 70% rule, Dale, if I didn't start off with that 70% rule and now I need my entire paycheck just to make ends meet, how would I get to a place where I can live off 70%?
I get asked this almost every time an adult will come up to me and go, okay, Dale, if I didn't start out on 70, is it too late? Okay, it's not. But there's two things you have to do. I get asked this, you can imagine, a lot. As most of us didn't start off on 70, 20, 10. I understand that.
Right.
Here's how you can fix it. Two things. Number one, from now on, for the rest of your life, every new dollar coming into your house, every raise, every bonus a spouse gets at a job, garage sale proceeds that you have, a car loan you pay off, that's new money coming in your house.
Okay, yes.
From now on, for the rest of your life, never take more than half that.
Okay.
Every new dollar coming into your house, never take more than half of it for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Maybe get to some seasons where you just get, this is a hard word for us Americans, content. And I don't need, it's a hard word to understand as Americans.
Yes.
Content. Maybe the step raise on teacher retirement said, maybe get to where if you're living inside your budget right now, that's new money. You don't need it. And if you do start doing this the rest of your life, every year that new money comes into your house, you're living on less and less of your income. If you think about a car payment, when we put that last check in the mail, what's the first thing that goes through the average American's mind? What can I go get now?
What can I
I'm
get
going to
now?
go buy a new one, right? It's sick. It's sick.
Yes.
But if you think about it, that's now, next month, you've got $500 free dollars, found money. Never spend more than half of that the rest of your life. And over time, for the rest of your life, you're living on less and less of your income. You have more margin in your financial life.
Yes.
The second thing that you do, the money that you save, you've got to get a portion of that supercharged and working hard by investing in stocks of great companies of the world. Okay. And the way the average American does that is through mutual funds.
Okay.
Through mutual funds that are just an aggregation of it's like a bucket that collects the stocks of many hundreds of different companies, and you diversify small dollar amounts that basically get spread out over hundreds of different companies' stocks. So it lessens the volatility, it lessens the risk, and you can participate in great stocks of companies in the world, companies that many of us know, and participate in the growth over time of the stock market. So those two things.
So it is possible.
It is possible.
I got a chance.
It is possible.
I got a chance. Well, you've mentioned, Dale, that sometimes people may be too conservative in their investment approach.
Yeah.
For those that are near retirement or even already retired, how should they invest?
First of all, I would say sit down with a financial planner. I love certified financial planner. I'm
Yes.
a CFP. I think they're worth it. If you don't want to engage them ongoing, you could pay them a one-time fee to kind of look at what you have and make sure you're in between the lines of where you need to be. But there's a great quote in the investing world. This is a great quote. More money was lost remembering the Depression than was lost in the Depression.
My goodness.
That's a great statement.
Yes.
If I'm in a room of 100 people and I ask the question, is the stock market risky? The vast majority of people are nodding and saying it is.
Yes.
It is. This is, if you think about it, if you're 50 years old listening to this, statistically, you've probably got 40 more years to live. I want you to think about this. If you're 50, there's a good shot. You study what's happening with health and the things that we're doing, little micro things that they put in arteries to go eat. Just study what's happening in the health. You may live 40 more years, 1 1/3 of a 30-year teaching career. You've got far more than a normal career you may live.
Yes.
So when people talk shutting it down from an investment perspective, I personally believe that again, this is wisdom, not advice. I personally believe that you need money in stocks of great companies of the world. And here's why. If you look at, people say, well, Dale, is the stock market risky? Learning the answer to this question, is the stock market risky? Knowing the answer to this is the difference in possibly being able to retire. Say these young adults I go talk to, and I tell them this. You got 2 life paths you're about to choose. And the next 3 minutes of what I'm going to teach you is this. Maybe one day being able to retire, or having so much wealth, you walk in a room and there's your financial advisors, your attorneys, your accountants, your foundation people, figuring out where you're going to gift it, give it, real estate you need to buy. It's answering this question, is the stock market risky? This is just what the wealthy understand. This is not hard. If you took $1 and put it in 3 different places, the stock market, a bank, good, because that's safe, yes. Or put it in the jar and put it underneath your mattress. Good, because that's really safe, right? All right, let's go back to really look at, is the stock market risky? And let's go back to really 1926. Let's stretch this out and go back to 1926 when they started keeping good data records of the stock market. $1 invested in the stock market in 1926 today is worth $56,000.
That's pretty good.
If you took that $1 and put it in a bank, good, because it's safe. On the same relative scale, it is worth $22, not $1,000. You see where this is going.
Wow. Yeah, that's not good.
And if you put it in a jar and put it underneath your mattress, it would have to grow by at least $16 because the cost of stuff goes up, which is called what? Inflation.
Yeah.
In 1926, bread was 5 cents. Today, it's $4.50. Your money has to work. It has to work for you. It's got to outpace inflation and taxes.
Right.
So even now, there's volatility in the stock market, but I want you, if you go back, and by the way, this is on, we'll talk about my website, and all this content's available on, you can see these things that I'm talking about.
Okay.
But if you go back and look at the history of the stock market since 1926, and you look, it's up and down and up and down and up and down, but it's on an upward trajectory. Here's how I want you to envision the stock market. Imagine looking sideways at a staircase.
Okay.
It is somebody yo-yoing going up a flight of stairs.
Okay.
Picture the yo-yo up and down, up and down, and up and down. We're seeing that right now, down, right? Up and down and up and down. But it's on an upward trajectory.
Yes, it is.
Right? An upward trajectory. And if you go look on my website and in my book, I've put the worst events in world history. World War II, JFK assassination, stock market crash, all throughout the worst events in world history. You can't tell where any of them happened in the history of the stock market.
Still a steady incline.
So remember yo-yoing up a flight of stairs. So that's why getting with a financial planner to help you understand these things will help us in the long run.
Great information right there. Great information. You touched on this a little bit earlier, Dale, but I'm sure you've experienced it as well, have I, but we are inundated with ads all day long. all day long. And it's so much easier than ever to get what I want when I want it. How do we fight that temptation to overspend?
So this is a great point, that question. I would say this. You will never have lasting change long-term in anything unless you have 4 ingredients.
Okay.
A passionate discontent and a powerful vision. You see, you'll never make a change until you get mad enough about something. And when you're fed up, you'll eventually do something about something.
Yes.
But if you don't have a powerful vision of what that anger is directed toward, if you don't know, well, we need to save money. Why? I don't know. We just need to save money. Well, I'd rather have a boat because that's more fun than saving money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when you say, we've got to save money, why? Because I want to travel the world with you and we want to enjoy our retirement years with our grandkids that's a powerful vision.
Yes.
Think about this. If you've heard the stories of people stopping smoking or stopping drinking or weight or things like that. Mm-hmm. When a doctor says you need to stop smoking, okay, I'll stop smoking. And they keep smoking. But if the doctor came to you and said, Tom, if you smoke one more cigarette, you will never see that granddaughter have her hand given away in marriage. You'll stop immediately.
Yes.
That's a powerful vision.
Yes.
You're mad enough and a powerful vision. So to overcome that drip, you've got to get mad enough, mm-hmm. and then you've got to have that vision that keeps that going. Passionate discontent, powerful vision. And when you have those 4 ingredients, you can change anything long term.
Man, very true. Very, very true. I'm going to try to do that myself. Powerful vision. Powerful vision.
Got to have the vision.
Got to have it. Well, Dale, you really dig into giving. You say that when you start giving, everything about life gets a new perspective. What exactly does that mean?
I love talking to, by the way, young adults about giving. A lot of them don't think about that. Mm-hmm. I want you to think about social media. If you're listening to this, I'm holding a cell phone. Do you know what that phone is telling me to do? Get more for myself. You know what this phone is telling me to do? Keep more for myself. It's telling us to hoard more for ourselves. It's telling us that the way to success and happiness is by serving ourselves. Everett, it's the world's greatest lie. And if young adults are too young to feel this way, but if you knew somebody that was dealing with anxiety, loneliness, anger, depression, maybe bad thoughts, part of the reason it's because the world is telling us to serve ourselves. It's the world's greatest lie. And if you're sick, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of not knowing what is my purpose, what is my reason for living, what is my passion, why am I here? The answer to the question, why am I here? It's found in flipping the script and becoming second and serving others. The mind doesn't allow itself to feel hopeless when it's giving hope. We were built, Everett, with a reward system in our brains. I ask young adults, has anybody ever done any kind of service project for somebody? Most of them shaking their heads. You're on a football team or something, go do somebody's lawn, take food to somebody that's sick, or give mom a big old Christmas present at Christmas, or hold a door open for an extended period of time. You know the good feeling that gives you when you do something good?
Right, yes, sir.
Do you know that's chemicals that get we were built with a reward system in our brain. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, chemicals that get released in our brains when we do good things.
Yes, sir.
What if your whole life were built around just dropping grace bombs on everybody who came behind you in your life? Everybody that follows Everett Crockett for the rest of your life, they're just blessed. Everyone who comes behind you. You're at a checkout counter at a grocery store and a lady starts crying and doesn't know whether to push diapers or formula back, and you walk over and you go, put all the tab on me. Put it on me. I'll pay it all. Take care. God bless. I'll pay it all. The second reason is you cannot outgive what you outget. In my life, I'm not going to say this is going to work for everybody listening to this. In my wife and I's life, The more we've tried to give away financially, the more we've seen come back. I'm not going to say it's going to work like that for everybody listening to this. Here's what I'll say. When you start giving, what you think you want to get back when you start giving is going to completely change, because giving grabs your heart and everything gets new perspective. Well, if I give you 10, I'm going to need to get 12 back, whatever 10 and 12 are.
Right.
If I give you $10, I want to get 12 back. When you start giving that 10, you won't care about anything about 12. Everything you want gets new perspective. And the last selfish reason I tell young adults is everybody's going to want a piece of you when you start becoming a giver. They're going to ask you to breakfast and lunch for your advice. They're going to ask you to serve on their boards. They're going to put you on planes and take you to places you can't imagine. You know why? Because everybody wants to be around a person that's a giver. You know why? Because they're rare. And they just bless hope with everybody behind them. We're in Georgia here. I love Publix. Let me say something real quick about Publix. They're like, by the way, the Chick-fil-A of grocery stores. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes, sir.
Founded by a man named George Jenkins out of Lakeland, Florida. Beautiful story here. And George, he was a very wealthy man, George Jenkins. And he gave away millions of dollars. Someone asked George Jenkins one time, Mr. Jenkins, how much would you be worth had you not given away so much money? And he said, probably nothing. He owed everything he had to what he gave away, because he knew the law of reciprocity and how the world works. So I love it. I love that story about George Jenkins.
Baffling to think
Everything about
it.
life gets new perspective when you start giving.
Yes, sir. Wow, that ties into so many other facets of life that we can't just really go into here, and I know you know that.
That's a bunch of podcasts. That's a bunch more podcasts.
My goodness, yes, sir. Dale, you've laid out such a powerful foundation, from your background to your mission in educating young adults and TRS's current and future retirees. But we're just getting started. Members and friends, in our next episode, we'll continue this conversation with Dale and get into even more gems of wisdom and insights that truly make a difference in your retirement and for your financial literacy. We encourage you to share our podcast with your family and friends. And if you have questions, comments, or feedback that you'd like to share with us, you can reach us at podcast@trsga.com. So don't miss it. Join us next time for part 2 of this incredible discussion with Mr. Dale Alexander on TRS, Your Retirement in Focus.